This is the Mercedes-Benz GLB. It's proven itself to be a versatile all-rounder, but the market has shifted quite a bit in the last few years, so now Mercedes is introducing the all-new generation of the GLB. It's on a new platform, it's bigger, it has more technology. So how is it better, and should you put your money down? I'm AJ, you're watching Autogefühl, and let's dive right in. First of all, we're matching. This is the AMG line of the GLB with the optional night pack here in this very menacing stealth black color. And check out this front grille. It's masked off. It has these nice little illuminated stars, but that tells you something. This is an EV, but AJ, aren't the GLB EVs called the EQB? Well, now on the new platform, they're just standardizing the nomenclature throughout the petrol hybrid and the EV lineup, so they're all just called the GLB. But yes, along with these lights, you also have an LED strip that runs along the top, AMG line bumpers with a little bit more aggressive design for the lower section, multi-beam LED lights with that nice 3-spoke star daytime running light in the middle. Here it is in all its glory, the Cosmos Black Magno matte finish black paint. Really menacing. What do you think about this color? Put it down in the comments below. Now, we spoke about this being on a new platform, right? So it is bigger. It's 4.732 meters now, so it's grown in length. But most importantly, the wheelbase has also now stretched, and the punch for the rear door is also much bigger now. This means two things. One, the rear seat, or the middle bench rather, has more leg room because the wheelbase has been stretched, so there's more space here. And the second thing is, because this rear door is now much larger, getting into the third row is also easier. So yes, you can have this as a 7-seater even in the EV version. You can also see these really cool black AMG 20-inch wheels. So you get adaptive suspension. Interestingly, on these 20-inch wheels as standard. Flush door handles, plenty of cameras all around. There's a whole array of sensors and camera for the ADAS systems, and we'll talk more about that later on. Coming to the back, this is a little bit different from the previous version. This design, it's got this vertical L shape, and then you have this horizontal light beam across. Like we saw in the front, you have these Mercedes 3-pointed star logos built into the LED strip. So I think it looks pretty neat. Also a very neat little spoiler on the top. Of course, very boxy, very baby GLS. So not very aerodynamic when it comes to being an EV, but I think the practicality is why people buy the GLB. And another interesting thing you might already notice is this says 4MATIC. That's the 350, so this is the top of the range electric version with, as you guessed it, 4-wheel drive. One motor on the rear axle, one motor on the front axle. We'll talk a little bit more about the combined output, but in this top spec version, now you can also tow 2,000 kilograms, so pretty much a full-sized caravan. Pretty cool if you ask me. You can have the GLB with 2 battery packs, a 58 kilowatt hour or an 85 kilowatt hour net, mind you. And this is on an 800 volt system architecture, so you can charge this with up to 320 kilowatts DC. So that's pretty incredible compared to, say, the Audi Q4 e-tron, which is on a 400 volt architecture. This being the 350 4MATIC, you get a 260 kilowatt max system output. So 0 to 100 kilometers is in 5.5 seconds. Top speed is limited at 210 kilometers per hour. But again, with that charging capability, you can put 10 to 80% in 22 minutes. So that's about 260 kilometers of range that you can top up in just 10 minutes. Here is the key fob. But of course you have keyless entry, so keep it in your pocket. You approach the car and then it unlocks. The flush door handles pop out. Yes, flush door handles, I'm not so sure about these. They've been around for a while. They're going away now, so if you didn't like them, that's good news for you. But I think as far as flush door handles are concerned, this doesn't feel that flimsy. And the door closing sound is also pretty robust. No shimmy or shake along this beading here. Now the door is also really wide, even for the front door. Soft touch materials up here. soft materials down here as well. Really bright interior. I like this kind of wood effect inlay around here. As with Mercedes, you have the seat controls here, but these actually move a little bit. So they click and they move, even though they're one piece. I think this is much better. And we've seen this for a while. What I don't like are these. Come on, Mercedes. So these are the window switches for the front, and if you want to open or close the rear windows, you have to toggle this button on and then control that. I don't like that. I have this kind of OCD habit when I'm driving my car. When I put the windows up, I go click, 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 click. I do it 2 times, top, bottom, you know? Do you do that too? Now, I couldn't imagine doing that here. I'd have to keep toggling the switches back and forth. But anyway, take a look inside. First thing that really grabs your attention, of course, is that huge super screen. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. 3 ginormous screens right there in the middle. And another thing that probably takes your attention is this lovely white and black interior. You have different upholstery and material options. This is the leatherette, the Artico, and this has a kind of artificial suede material here in the middle. I think overall it looks really nice. It feels really nice too. And look at that floating cantilevering central console. So a lot to talk about in this brand new interior. Let's get inside. SUV stance, higher ground clearance, taller body, so getting in is really easy. And yes, a couple more exciting things to talk about on the steering wheel as well. First thing I really like about the steering wheel is that we see the return of physical rollers here for the volume control and a physical switch for your adaptive cruise control setting. So really great to see this. If you remember in the previous versions of Mercedes steering wheels, these were kind of touch sensitive sliders. So I'm so happy to see a return of these buttons, and this is also an industry trend now, so thumbs up for that. Of course, we also have a digital instrument cluster. You can change the view, you can have, for example, the map, lots of different customizations and personalizations. In fact, all of these dials are also changing in accordance with the general theme of the user interface, and I'll show you that in a minute. You will also notice the 2 large 14-inch screens, one for the central infotainment system and a second one for the passenger. Of course, this is the optional extra, but hey, your passenger can be watching some Autoga Fuel on those long road trips. This is actually really slick. They have really invested a lot in the technology that goes behind this, and in fact, all of the GLB variants come equipped with the same hardware and the computing power. But of course, the different features are hidden behind paywalls, and in the future, they can release more upgrades that you can download and pay for and get that over the air. This is the 0 layer that we've seen, but smaller further improvements have been made. You have a lot of different apps that you can download, similar to a like your mobile phone. You can also kind of long press and, you know, categorize different apps. Not such a big deal for a car. I don't think I want to be spending time doing that, but it's nice to see. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, as expected, some small games, and some other interesting things. For example, down here you see that we don't have a dedicated physical console for the air conditioning. Instead, we have to use this climate menu. But it's also pretty smart, so you can of course use the voice commands, and I'll demonstrate that in a minute. But you can also program certain pre-entry climate controls. So on a hot summer day, you can have it cool down the car before you enter if you have a kind of a scheduled departure time. But as the car notices certain trends in your behavior and when you drive, it can also recommend this to you and say, hey, it's winter now. I see that you have to go to work every day and you're coming in at 8 in the morning. Do you want me to have the car primed and warm for you to come? And you can say yes, and it will do that for you. So pretty good use of tech. And that brings me to the actual brains behind it. That's probably a giveaway right there. So we have a lot of AI. And I really do mean a lot, because we have both ChatGPT and Google Gemini integrated into this Google-based navigation system. So the Gemini system is mostly used for taking commands for your navigation. You can give multi-step, multi-prompt requests. And then the ChatGPT is kind of the general assistance behind. So I can use that to, for example, change the temperature or things like that. Instead of changing individual kind of ambient lighting, you can go to these ambient styles, and this not only changes the light signature around the car, but also the background of the screens. Even if you take a look at this right here, you can see that if I change it to this polar night mode, in this theme there are little crystals along the speedometer and tachometer. Pretty cool. Things to maybe try out a few times and pick one for the rest of your time with the car. But another interesting thing is now, being an EV, there are very little sounds to engage you with the driving experience. So they have these sound worlds. Silver waves, roaring pulse. Listen to this fractal fusion. Fractal fusion, that sounds like a death metal band name. What do you guys think? So anyway, the point is they're trying to be more evocative, more emotive, and help you connect emotionally with the car. All GLBs come as standard with a panoramic roof, but you can optionally get the Sky Control, which gives you a large fixed glass roof, which is clear but has this really cool electronically tinting technology. We've seen this in other vehicles before, but this car also comes with that option. And even more so, if you actually take a look, you see that there are these little stars, so you can also have them light up in accordance with the theme you've selected. So at night you have a starry night ambience. Speaking of the voice assistant systems, small commands like this can also be achieved through that. So, hey Mercedes,
how can I help?
Turn the Sky Control to Opal.
Okay, I am setting the roof to Opal.
There you go. Let's take a look at some of the materials and the center console in general. Unfortunately, you have one large kind of haptic touch panel here. You can press this down so you can choose the different driving modes from comfort, sport, eco, things like that. I also like that you have a shortcut button to jump directly to the parking cameras. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But yes, no separate buttons, just one large panel. Over here you have an inductive phone charger, so it's easy to just drop your phone. It's nice and grippy. You might also notice there is another shelf down here. You can keep other items. You can even use this USB-C port, and you can actually thread that cable up into this upper deck here, so you can charge your phone through the cable like this, and the cable management is neat and tidy. Beverage holders with these spring-loaded clamps to help secure your water bottle, like that. And padded center armrest, which opens for further storage, and a nice flexible tray. Self-parking tech has been around for a while, and honestly, I've never really used it in real life, but since we're seeing that this tech is a lot more promising looking, why don't we try it out? So it's spotted a bunch of different parking lots for me. I'm going to select, it's already pre-selected that one. I'm going to click on Park Now. I have my feet and my hands completely off. What is it doing? It's going this way. Whoa. I think it's going to back itself in now. There we go. Okay, I see where it's planning to go. I see the trajectory that it's mapped out. It's indicating. It says, please be ready to brake. Okay. I have my foot on the brake. I'm not pressing the brake. I'm not pressing the brake. In fact, I didn't touch anything. Process finished. Ta-ding! It's like one of those level complete video game sounds, but that's impressive. It's a nice to have. Another thing you can notice is that you have the invisible bonnet view. So here already in the parking camera, you can see that. But of course, if we go to the terrain mode, here you can see a much better view of that 3D transparent bonnet. Forget transparent bonnet, the whole car is transparent, so I can really use this view to position myself. I'm not going off-roading, I'm just here in this little parking lot, but there you go. All right, let's get inside the back seat. Bigger door opening, definitely felt that advantage. Door is nice and large, resounding thud. This panoramic glass roof really makes the interior seem bright and spacious. Thanks also in part to these white seats, and in general, the space that's here on offer. So this seat is set to my driving position. I'm 5'8" or about 1.73 meters. This speaks for itself. There's so much of knee room. I can also slide my feet under the front seat, even though the seat is really not that high. So space is really nice back here. Flat floor, some charging options, air conditioning vents here in the center. And take a look at this. I can slide the bench forward, so I can also kind of shuffle and balance the space for the trunk or the 7-seat option if you have the 7 seats, the 2 seats in the back. And to be honest, even if I had this all the way to the front, I could sit behind myself, and if you had the 7-seat version, 3 AJs could easily fit here, one behind the other. In addition to this, you can also change the angle of recline for comfort or again to help fit larger items. This car also comes with quite a few ISOFIX seats. So you have 2 points on the outside 2 seats here. You can also put one on the front passenger seat and even on the rear 2 seats. You have a center armrest with some cup holders and a place to keep your phone. A small net here on the back of the seat. This material is a bit hard, but it's not too bad. And overall, the middle bench, or the middle seat in the middle bench, is not too bad. It is a bit stiff back here, but on the whole, practicality, 7-seater, definitely you can use this. All right, let's take a look at the trunk. Now keep in mind, there are different trunk capacities depending on the actual seat configuration. Here in the 5-seater, it's 540 liters. This area here with the seats up. In the 7-seat version, because you lose out on all of this useful cargo volume, it's 480 liters. But still, I think this is pretty impressive. Keep in mind, as standard, this is a rear-wheel drive layout. The 4MATIC just adds a small motor on the front, which is generally decoupled and disconnected and only engages when you need high load or high traction. So with the battery pack and a motor still back down here, there's still lots of space. What I don't like so much is the parcel shelf. The roller isn't very neat. And I suspect that over just a couple months of use, this is going to rub against this and create some scratches. And another thing that I don't like too much is that there are no switches back here, even in the top of the line version that we have here to tumble the seats down. I have to go around to the front and fold it down this way. But now, if the floor was up, you have a really long loading bay, and you can easily carry those long furniture that you get from IKEA. And because this is on the new electric first architecture, we have a nice 127-liter frunk, and it is very usable. This is a pretty large camera bag, and it fits with room to spare. So I could probably even fit another small bag inside. You can put maybe a crate of beer, some sporting equipment. So overall, very useful frunk. I'm actually going to be a father soon, and this is a pretty cool aspirational dadmobile, a trailer with a couple jet skis, and this is the 7-seater version of the GLB. So plenty of space for the kids. As you can see, there are a couple child seats, and like I was saying, you can even put child seats all the way in the back. But now the real test, how do I fit in the 3rd row? So as you see, it's not great back here, but definitely usable and definitely for kids, because I'm sitting closer inward. My feet are a little bit crooked because I can't fully put my feet like this. I'll have to maybe squeeze it along the side, but let's see if I can fit with my knees. If I pull this all the way back here, yes, actually, my knees are not pressed up against this. If I even recline the seat further back, it's not a problem. So in a pinch, I could sit back here, but for kids, definitely. With the 3rd row up, how much space do we have left in the trunk? Oh boy, not a lot for sure, not a lot, but at least you can fit a couple, maybe grocery bags, a couple soft bags like backpacks. And let's not forget, you can actually mount a roof box, even on top of that glass roof. The roof rails are functional, so you can load that up. The tow bar can also take some load if you want to put a cargo box over there. So there's ways you can make this more practical. All right, welcome to AJ's Driving Lounge. We are here on the highway in the GLB EV. Let's test out some of the driver assistance systems. Keep in mind, this is level 2, and with over-the-air updates, they can even increase this capability. So I'm going to turn on the assistance system. I've double-clicked the button here, and now it's maintaining the lane, checking the distance with the car in the front, looking at traffic signs, and also using the topographical information from the navigation and so on and so forth. You see now this car is merging, it's braking automatically. So it's taking all of this into account to not only drive me comfortably, but also efficiently to try to keep the best EV range so that I reach my destination with plenty of range left. So a very intelligent system. It's got a really sophisticated brain. In fact, we can take a peek into what this brain is thinking. If I swipe right here, I can see what the car is seeing. I can see that, okay, it's understanding where the lane ends, that this is a solid line, this is a dotted line. It can even see the lane at the end. It knows the cars around it. It's aware of even the car in my blind spot. It sees that much before I do. It also has now detected that the speed limit has changed, so I can just double tap and now it will increase the speed for me. So it's a really smart system. I think Mercedes has definitely, been at the cutting edge of ADAS technology, and now the GLB has that latest suite of tech as well. So not just the MB.OS for the MBUX, but also these new assistance systems, definitely very state-of-the-art. The interior now, let's talk a little bit about the sound insulation. I think it's really quiet. So in an EV, you don't hear the electric motors at all. So unlike an ICE engine, there's no drone or vibration that's coming in. So I do hear a little bit more of the tire noise, but it's only because there is a lack of any other noise that I do hear a little bit of the tire noise. We're at about 110, 120 kilometers per hour. And even at this speed, the sound insulation is really good. I don't hear much of the wind noise at all, and even the tire noise is really well subdued. So that rumbling roar that you get from wind turbulence, especially in the undercarriage, that has been sorted out really well. It's also generally comfortable in terms of the seating. These seats are a little bit on the narrower side, but somebody of my build, I think it's not too bad, but I would recommend you take a test drive and see how you fit and how you feel. Of course, different material options, but I like this material because, there's a lot of grip and I don't slide around too much. Again, this assistance system is really great. I can even just indicate that I wanted to change lanes, and if I keep my hands on the steering wheel, it will change the lane for me. So it also has that extra added layer of safety, and because it's an EV, it accelerates also really quickly. So it finds those gaps in the highway really easily. Other than that, the visibility is also really good, although I must say these mirrors on the side are a little bit on the narrower side. They also taper off, so I don't really have a good view out the back. I wish these mirrors were a little bit bigger, because this does feel, and is in general, a sizable car. It's not as big as the GLE, of course, but it's about the same size as the GLC, and I think these mirrors are not large enough to really get a good confident view out the back. The inside rear view mirror, on the other hand, is pretty good, and because you have a tall upright windshield at the back, I have a good view out that way. But of course, with these assistance systems, the car is taking care of all the heavy lifting, and it's got its eyes peeled for any obstruction, so it's giving me that safety net and that confidence to go on long drives. And even if I might feel a little bit of fatigue, the car is there to keep me in check so that I'm able to reach my destination safely. All right, we've been driving on the highway for quite a bit now, and we're seeing numbers of around 19.6 kilowatt hours for 100 kilometers in terms of consumption. This isn't great. I think we can get better numbers. Of course, most of this driving was on the highway and in the city We didn't drive too much, but so far it's a fairly good indication. I would expect a realistic number of around 16 kilowatt hours for 100 kilometers, and with that, with an 85 kilowatt hour battery, you should expect a realistic range of combined highway driving, city driving, maybe even a little bit of a spirited drive on the country road of about 530 kilometers. But let's keep an eye on this, and I'll circle back to you at the end of the video. So we saw that the GLB on the highway is planted, it's comfortable, the suspension with this adaptive damping system is really compliant, irons out all the undulations, and of course that heavy battery pack, low center of gravity, and the wide track, the long wheelbase. In general, very sure-footed. But does that translate to the city streets? Well, I found myself in a little village here on the island of Mallorca. So let's test it. What I really like about Mercedes in general is also that they really pay attention to their speed limiter function. A lot of people get confused when I talk about this. I'm not talking about the traffic sign recognition, I'm not talking about the cruise control, but the speed limiter. So I can click and select that here and double tap to set it to the speed limit that it has identified. And now it's going to make sure that I don't cross the speed limit, but I still have the ability to slow down because there's pedestrians, there's cars parking, there's dogs running around. So I don't want cruise control, but I want to make sure I don't break the speed limit. And this is ideal for that. Another thing that really helps in city driving is the auto setting for the recuperative brake. So instead of choosing a low or a high setting for the regeneration, I can just leave it as automatic. And what this does is, based on the conditions of the topography, how close I am to cars in front of me, the speed limit if I'm starting to speed up, if I'm rolling downhill and I need to slow down, all these different things, and it will automatically adjust the amount of recuperation. So it's basically braking for me. As the streets get narrower and narrower, you can also see that despite being, a little bit bigger than the previous generation, this is definitely not a difficult car to drive in these little streets here. So overall, I would say that for small European towns like this, the GLB still can manage. If you want, you can quickly jump to the 360 camera mode here, and then you can see how you are placing this vehicle along these edges. You can also see pedestrians and other cars that it's detecting, and it'll help you see if you're going to make this gap or not. So overall, even in narrow little city streets like this, the GLB is able to squeeze itself through. There's reasonable visibility because I have a pretty tall windshield. I have a pretty tall windows on the left and right. So overall, I'm able to kind of place myself in these narrow lanes really well. And here as well, I feel like these rear view mirrors are a bit too tight. They're too small. I feel like they should have been taller. They don't have to be longer. They just need to be, I need more height. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that taper is really taking away quite a bit of real estate from the visibility. And sure, I guess you can use the cameras, but I think if they had fixed that, then it would be near perfect. I'm driving on little cobblestone streets, but I don't feel any jittering. I don't feel any vibrations over manhole covers, other dips and potholes. So this adaptive suspension, even with those 20-inch wheels, I see now why they make it a mandatory fix, because it definitely makes the ride really compliant. But yeah, overall, really smooth. Of course, you can use the intelligent recuperation mode, and it will bring you to a complete stop, which is really useful in the city. But you can also go to the strong recuperation mode, and this is a true one pedal. So I can use this, as I have now, to come to a complete stop and set off again. Coupled with the limiter, it's super easy to drive, full EV, single pedal in the city. Another useful thing that this has is actually there's a 2-speed gearbox on the rear axle, on the rear motor. So it actually uses a higher gear ratio for the city to give you more torque and acceleration under heavy loads, or especially when you're towing and you want to set off at slow speeds or from standstill. But it shifts to a higher gear ratio when you're on the highway to try to give you better efficiency. Finally, let's check how the GLB is to drive on winding roads. One last look at the mileage, because up until now it's been very realistic. I'm getting 19.4, 19.5 kilowatt hours for 100 kilometers. But now I don't care about efficiency. Let's go into sport and let's put our foot down. That sound effect is so cool. It's got this warbling spaceship effect. So, oh yeah, instant torque. Four-wheel drive here in the 4MATIC. Steering weighs up pretty well, but again, it's not as responsive as some of its other German competitors, let's say. And I think it's not bad, but it's a bit numb. There's plenty of traction. I feel plenty of grip. It turns in really positively. I don't have to make too many corrections. It holds the line that I want it to hold very confidently. The adaptive suspension here in the sport mode also maintains the body roll, or contains the body roll rather. So you can hustle it down a mountain road like this. And those regenerative brakes don't feel spongy or mushy. Gives you reasonable confidence. This still has 4 disc brakes, so you know that there is a fail-safe with really capable friction disc brakes if you need them. But that acceleration is definitely fun. It's not as blistering as maybe, say, a Model Y Performance, but it's not trying to be. So for what it is, I think it's definitely fun. The GLB EV starts at around 54,000 euros, but the 350 4MATIC AMG line with all the bells and whistles is easily 64,000 euros. That is really expensive. But there are some pretty interesting leasing offers going on right now, so be sure to check those out. Overall, I think this generation of the GLB has only gotten better. It's taken all the strengths of the previous generation and improved upon all of them. The space is now better and it's more smartly packaged for the middle and third row occupants. They've crammed in as much tech as they possibly can. 2 AI agents, but not even that. They have the hardware to support future over-the-air updates as well. Overall, I think this is now an even better all-rounder than it already was. But how does it compare with its competitors from, say, Volvo, Tesla, or BMW? Be sure to check out our reviews and then let me know in the comments which one you would pick. Thanks for watching.